Hello, everyone. Dr. Ames here. This time, I'd like to talk to you about the forms of international business. So, we've got exporting and importing, licensing, strategic alliances and joint ventures, and direct investment. So, let's take a little deeper look at each of these topics and see how easy they are to help us get into international business or if there's a lot of risk involved. First, let's just take a look at the advantages and disadvantages of importing or exporting. More or less, they are the same. You're either bringing something in from another country across your border, or you're shipping something out across your border to another country. The advantages and disadvantages are more or less the same ones. The big side is you decide how much cash to spend, and therefore the risk can be very small. It's up to you to decide on the level of investment and so forth. You don't have to adapt to a particular product or get a bunch of knowledge. You get to choose. You pick the field that you feel most comfortable in, the industry, and so forth. And so the risk is up to you. The amount of money you spend is up to you. How hard it's going to be and how much you have to investigate and learn is really up to you. And those are all good, strong advantages of importing or exporting. Now, the downside is usually some form of government intervention, at least mostly. And this would be in the form of tariffs and taxes and quotas and things like that. Um, Also, you have to think about the downside when you import or export something that you have to ship it. And so there are transportation costs. And if you're doing international business, it costs more to send things around the world, depending on the level and the amounts that you send and so forth. Um, so government restrictions of various types are certainly on the downside for importing and exporting. But as you can see, you get to set the level of risk you're willing to take. Another way you can get into international business, another form, is licensing. Licensing can extend the profitability on existing products by getting that halo effect from another logo or trademark. Um, so you make a little bit more money and you've extended the length maybe of your product in its maturity stage. The downside is it's fairly inflexible. You don't get to change the logo. It's more or less you put it on another product if that's the way you're doing on licensing. And there is a lot of competition, of course, from licensing because everybody is doing it, and it's a very popular technique to reach consumers. Another form of business you could do internationally would be to form a strategic alliance of some type with another company. Of course, that would be in a foreign market, so that would get you quick market entry. And you could learn the cultural ups and downs and the things you need to know about that market and maybe move into it on your own or with other products or just expand the relationship you have with that company. So, strategic alliances are good for that. They do give you access to materials and technology, maybe through those other companies or in other countries that you don't have access to yourself. And maybe you're providing something in return. That's generally what it is. The downside is you don't keep all the profits from this alliance. There's shared ownership, and you're going to work out the details of who controls what and makes what decisions and how the profits are divided up and how you understand the profits really to be. Um, a specific form of strategic alliance is what we call a joint venture. And the biggest difference here is that two companies come together and they form a third standalone independent company. And that company, generally, the idea is its operations benefit both companies in an ongoing way. Both companies would contribute resources, have an ongoing stake in making sure it's successful. And indeed, all three parties profit off of that. So it's shared ownership is the biggest downside. And then finally, the other form of international business is direct investment. And the advantage of this is, well, if you're putting in the capital, it gives you a way to control things. And it gives you a way to use whatever your own assets are. Any existing infrastructure you have can be brought to bear to help you have some leverage and do better. But you could buy stock in another company in another country, or you could build a building in a foreign market, and so forth. You have some good advantages there. You also have the advantage to back off a little bit if you just want to spend money versus actual activity. The downside is it's a complex set of arrangements generally to be investing capital and weighing all the risks and so forth. So the risks are both economic and political, and there's a lot more uncertainty in these sorts of situations. Okay, folks, that's all I want to hit this time. I'll talk to you again soon.